Transmigrated into a tragic novel as the fake heiress, the system orders me to rewrite the plot and help the original protagonist resolve the crisis. Original text: you were kidnapped by bandits, but you weren't panicked at all because the bandit leader, at this moment, the 1.89-meter tall, incredibly well-built bandit was already closing in. In a panic, I filled in, is here. The kidnapper paused. The atmosphere of the entire world changed. I transmigrated into the fake daughter in a wealthy family's tragic love story. When the real daughter returned, she received no love from her father or mother, and even her fiancé abandoned her, and my task is to rewrite the plot and resolve the crisis. But the moment I arrived, I was already on the brink of life and death. A man wearing a black mask, with broad shoulders and a slim waist, was calmly crouching in the corner, holding a small knife, 250, cash, unmarked bills. Money for the person. The other two men, thin as monkeys, sized me up. On their unremarkable faces, one was marked with A, the other with B. How perfunctory, I silently complained, not giving it. Fine. The man snorted coldly, suddenly stood up, and walked over to me. The system task just popped up. You are a wealthy heiress, pampered since childhood. One day, you are kidnapped by kidnappers. But you are not panicked at all, because the leader of the kidnappers. I stare at the blank space behind, eager to write, very kind. A red exclamation mark shatters my delusion. Primary system, word count limited, current available words for addition or modification, 1. I cover my face. Although the man in front of me is handsome, he has a fierce and menacing look as he leans in closer. In a moment of quick thinking, I forcefully focus my mind and fill in a word. Done. Because the kidnapper boss is done, the kidnapper stops. The tip of the knife hanging in midair. It's clearly a world of tragic love and melodrama, but the atmosphere seems to have subtly changed in a strange way. Ding, congratulations, you have leveled up. Current editable word count, 3. At the same time, I heard the kidnapper's voice, cold yet tinged with shock. Hey, where are you looking at me with that admiring and amazed gaze? But the plot has already been written. I could only mourn in my heart, my eyes fixed tightly on the kidnappers. Even slowly revealing a satisfied and expectant smile, the kidnapper boss fell silent. The system also fell silent. Kidnapper A whispered, Boss, are we still going to kill the hostage? Didn't Miss Gu say? The kidnapper boss waved his hand. Get her out of here, whoever she is. He explained to his subordinates with a blank expression. I'm scared. She's not normal. I stood up, about to bow to him. He jumped back a step. Don't come near me, I'm warning you. I walked out of the mountains on foot and returned to the Gu residence, disheveled and covered in dust. My family did not worry about my disappearance. Instead, they gathered together to celebrate the birthday of the true heiress. My fiancé sat beside Gu Qian, his eyes filled with affection. Where have you been fooling around again? How dare you come back? My father saw me and scolded angrily. Sister, I didn't mean to take your place. Please don't overthink it just because mom and dad are celebrating my birthday. Gu Qian covered her face, pretending to cry. My mother stood up, her eyes filled with coldness and disgust. Qian has finally come back, and yet you still show up looking so filthy, disrupting her birthday party. You're so selfish, an ungrateful wolf cub. Just in time, the system task popped up. You are the fake daughter, unloved by both father and mother, because of your dirty and disheveled appearance. You are ruining the real daughter's birthday party. Your mother raises her hand and storms toward you in a rage, but you're not panicked at all, because your mother walks over. I look at the so-called family members sitting there with cold eyes, and then at the palm about to slap my face. Turning my mind, I fill in 3 words, because my mother walked over. So, Madame Gu, with her palm raised, strode towards me. Then turned her head fiercely and walked to the far end of the living room. Mom, what's wrong? Are you so angry that it's affecting your health? Gu Qian quickly stood up. While speaking, Madame Gu strolled back and forth across the living room once more. Good footwork. Ding, congratulations. You have leveled up. Current additional editable characters, 5. I let out a sigh of relief and quickly checked the original text to see the subsequent plot. Gu Zhenjin fled back to the Gu residence. She still didn't know that the kidnappers were hired by Gu Qian, who hadn't given up and planned to take her life that very night. I am speechless. Is this a melodramatic story or a battle royale? That night, my original luxurious bedroom had long been given to Gu Qian. I live in a hastily arranged nanny's room, in a feigned sleep. I heard the window frame creak softly as someone leaped into the room, under the moonlight. The intruder stood at about 6 feet 2. With a tall and straight figure and an exceptionally large chest, the dagger in his hand gleamed with a cold light. Why is it him again? Suddenly, a system task popped up. You are the miserable fake heiress. The assassin in black intends to take your life. He said nothing, quickly drawing a dagger and thrusting it toward you. But you didn't panic at all, because I jolted up from my deathbed. 5 words, save my life. But if I say something like, walk over and walk back, again, it definitely won't work, because the bedroom is so small. Even if he fails with 1 strike, I'll still be hard-pressed to escape death. What should I do? Is there a permanent solution? I stared intently at the dagger in his hand. Got it, the assassin lunged at me, but I'm not panicked at all, because I am Qin Shi Huang. The system erupted in silence. What the hell is this? But the law of causality has already been established. Qin Shi Huang cannot be killed by stabbing, because he will dodge around the pillar. I feel my body uncontrollably leap up, take 2 big strides off the bed, slide along the bedpost, and evade the assassin's attack. The killer, having failed in his first strike, paused for 3 seconds. He finally got a clear look at my face. The cold face hidden behind the black mask even showed a hint of helplessness. Why is it you again? And I no longer have time to chat with him, because I am Qin Shi Huang, besides circling the pillar. Unfamiliar thoughts also race through my mind, swelling until they ache. The world is my world. I am 6'3". Why are there so many different shapes of charger ports in this world? I do not allow it. Unify the charger models. Anyone who disagrees, bury them. I want to live another 500 years. Mine, still mine. I grunted and groaned, holding my aching head, and like a hurdler, I jumped onto the bed again, circling around the pillar. I couldn't help but gaze down at the entire room with a fiery, desire-filled look, shouting in a passionate and spirited voice, mine. The assassin stared at me in surprise, and I looked back at him. He silently withdrew his leg, slipped off the bed, and pulled up his collar. Then, unable to bear it any longer, he growled in disbelief. Are you crazy? How could you possibly be interested in me? With a mix of authority and anger, I assumed the demeanor of an emperor and shouted, how dare you? Where did this wicked flatterer come from? I shall bury you alive. He nearly jumped 3 meters away. You're going to bite me too. Don't come any closer. I'm scared. I covered my mouth, screaming inwardly in bitter agony. System, no one told me Qin Shi Huang was like this. The system weakly explained. No one wanted to be Qin Shi Huang before. This is probably just a fusion of some stereotypes about Qin Shi Huang combined with your inherent personality. Don't worry, the effect is short-lived. Once the crisis is over, you'll return to normal. I steadied my heart and braced myself to look at the assassin. He took a deep breath. What's your name? I'll blacklist it on the mission list. Hiss. It seems I really scared him. Seeing my silence, he sighed helplessly. All right. As an exchange, I'll speak first. My name is Yen Wang. A bounty hunter in this world. Could it be that he's also a transmigrator? But during work, I can't reveal my identity. However, since we're both in another world, it's like meeting a fellow countryman. It's hard not to feel a sense of closeness. I extended my hand to him. Hello, my name is Gu Zhenjin. Nice to meet you. He fell silent for a moment, then couldn't help but say, could you please not be so happy? He thought for a moment and added, I'm just an ordinary, honest man, nothing special. Don't love me. It won't lead anywhere. Yen Wang, holding a small knife in his mouth, climbed out through the window. Suddenly, an idea struck me, and I quickly grabbed hold of him. He was so startled that he trembled, clutching his chest as he turned around. I have a good idea that will ensure you won't be sent to kill me again. What is it? I'll hire you, and you'll protect me. Goodbye. I choose death. Double the price. Deal. Hiring Yen Wang is a once-and-for-all solution. I no longer have to participate in battle royale games with my heart in my mouth. However, the price to hire him is truly outrageously high. To make money, I came up with a plan. In the original story, Gu Zhenjin endured endless bullying. To continue her studies, she worked part-time jobs and, due to a car accident, met her destined male lead, Shen Leitang. His name is as thunderous as his actions are swift and decisive. After a series of forceful pursuits and love-hate encounters, the two fell in love. However, Shen Leitang's mother intervened, offering Gu Zhenjian 1 million to leave him. This 1 million is the salary I gave to Yan Wang. Today is the day I collapsed on the road after working overtime and was hit by Shen Leitang. I watched with eager anticipation as that majestic Cadillac drove toward me. Then, the car that should have been unable to brake in time actually crawled across the crosswalk at a snail's pace, even letting an old lady on a tricycle overtake it. Never mind, I gritted my teeth and lunged forward, hitting the ground headfirst. Sorry, are you okay? A clear, bright voice spoke as two hands helped me up. Something's not right. Shouldn't he have said, get out of the way. If you want to extort money, talk to my secretary. I opened my eyes, looked at the CEO with a kind smile on his face, and tremblingly spoke the original line. Who are you? Shen Leitang smiled and said, my name is Shen Leifeng. I just changed it today because my idol is Leifeng, and I want to be a good person. He gently picked me up and said, let me take you to the hospital, shall I? If you're injured in any way, I'll cover the medical expenses. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks. Yan Wang grabbed his wrist. He was dressed as usual, black mask, windbreaker. Put her down. When he came to kill me, I saw him as a fierce and menacing figure, but now that he's my bodyguard, he seems serious and resolute. All right, Shen Leitang smoothly handed me over to Yan Wang. You agreed way too quickly, didn't you? Yan Wang, who had originally thought he would encounter kidnappers and have to fight a fierce battle, took me over in a daze. The one who said he was huge and wanted to bite him. The next second, he snapped back to reality. So startled he almost flung his hand away. 1 million. I forced the words out through gritted teeth. Yan Wang steadied his hand. I whispered again, take me back. Yan Wang handled me as if I were a bomb, terrified that I might pounce on him like a ravenous wolf. He carefully placed me back into Shen Leitang's arms. You should take her to the hospital. All right. Shen Leitang nodded with a gentle demeanor. I got into the car with him. I glanced unintentionally at the rearview mirror. Yan Wang stood in place, watching us drive away. Shen Leitang and I became friends. That night when I returned home, my parents didn't even glance at the bandage wrapped around my head. Instead, they immediately began interrogating me. Qian saw you flirting with the Shen family's son on the street. Are you trying to get back at us and bring shame to the family? My father's face turned ashen as he slammed his hand heavily on the table. It seems we'll have to use the family rules to make you behave. I sighed, numbed. The system task indeed popped up. You are a delicate, injured, and weak little white flower. After being misunderstood by your parents, the angry father is about to hit you, but you are not panicked at all, because the father stands up. I squint my eyes, sneering inwardly. No problem. I'm not the least bit flustered, because father stood up, adjusting the angle of his long johns. Father Gu stood before the table, his face dark and gloomy. Gu Qian and Mother Gu both looked at him. Then, they watched as Father Gu, with a solemn and dignified expression, placed his hands on his waist, pulled up his long johns, and then sat back down. Gu Qian was speechless. Mother Gu was speechless. How lonely it is to be invincible. In my moment of triumph, I forgot that I still owed Yan Wang 1 million. Yan Wang was squatting in my room, still wearing a mask, with an expression that clearly said he was here to collect a debt. He was from my hometown, so naturally, I treated him with a bit more warmth. These days, working in a transmigration novel isn't easy. Look at how pitiful he is, wrapped in a thick coat and wearing a black mask in a room with plenty of heating. I said, take it off, it's really hot. Yan Wang stared at me intently, as if thinking of something, then quietly covered his chest and said, don't even think about it. I explained to him again. Don't worry, I'll definitely give you the million. I think for a moment and add, also, when Shen Leitang is around, you don't need to protect me. Yan Wang, crouching in the corner, says softly, do you like him? I don't know whether to give him the real answer or the answer that follows the plot's protagonist. Before I can reply, Yan Wang speaks again, never mind, it's none of my business. At that moment, the system task unexpectedly popped up again. I was astonished. The system said meaningfully, whether you will be happy in the future is also a kind of crisis. I looked at the original text. You are a slow transmigrator into the book. You owe the assassin $1 million. He suddenly stands up and walks over to you, but you are not panicked at all, because of, is this some kind of hint? Why has the mission title changed to Book Traveler? For the first time, I looked into the distance. Feeling lost, Yan Wang removed his mask with one hand. A face, as if carved from ice and jade, breathtakingly beautiful. He walked toward me, his gaze held hesitation, and also a hint of probing. Oh, I understand what the system is hinting at, that Yan Wang still wants to kill me again. But I am already an old hand. The system had long since been upgraded to a full 9 characters. I stared at Yan Wang, giving a wicked and triumphant smile. The assassin walked toward me, but I wasn't the least bit flustered. Because he didn't make a move until 2 o'clock. Yan Wang stood still. 1 million, you can hand it over later, he said calmly. I will protect you. Today, I heard your conversation with your family, he added. I know it's not easy for you. I couldn't help but look up. The moonlight was as clear as if it had been washed. Yan Wang looked at me, as resolute as a deity. So, I will protect you from being bullied by others. My heart, which had endured countless hardships, suddenly gave a heavy thump. So, he wasn't here to harm me. I had wronged him. I settled down to sleep. Under my earnest persuasion, Yan Wang also leaned against the bedside. I, a kind and friendly fellow villager, lent my soft and fragrant little blanket to Yan Wang to cover his exposed feet. In a daze, around 2 o'clock in the morning, I suddenly remembered something. Since he wasn't here to harm me, my delaying tactic naturally didn't need to be continued. In that case, what would take action at 2 o'clock mean? It would probably mean nothing happens, right? So, I don't need to avoid him at that time anymore, do I? When the time on the digital watch turned to 2 o'clock, I suddenly felt Yan Wang move. I kept my eyes tightly shut, pretending to be asleep. Yan Wang sat up and looked at me. Then, he took my hand. He kissed my palm. A kiss so gentle it seemed unlike this cold-blooded tough guy. He turned over and went back to sleep, leaving me alone in the dark. Blushing from head to toe. Damn. What just happened? Take action. So it means I moved my hand. I feel like something's off with me lately. Whenever I see Yan Wang, I feel flustered, and my heart races. I made an excuse to go to Shen Leitang's side to follow the plot, keeping some distance from Yan Wang for now. Shen Leitang is having a gathering today. The theme of the party is patriotism, dedication, integrity, and friendliness. The guests below, who mistakenly thought they were attending a party, were left feeling dizzy and confused. Gu Qian actually came too. However, it was also within reason. In the original book, she envied Gu Zhenjin's first 20 years and went to great lengths to take everything from her. First it was the fiancé, and now, it's Shen Leitang. She smiled as she walked toward Shen Leitang. Oh, I'm sorry, a glass of red wine was accidentally spilled on Shen Leitang's chest. Gu Qian looked up pitifully, flustered as she wiped Shen Leitang's clothes. I'm sorry, young Master Shen, I didn't mean to. It's all right, Shen Leitang said with an exceptionally good temper. Gu Qian bit her lip. I've just arrived at the Gu family and don't have much money to compensate for your suit. How about I make it up to you in another way? Anything is fine. Shen Leitang spoke with righteous indignation. Miss Gu, huh? Gu Qian looked at Shen Leitang's pained and solemn expression in confusion. Please don't be so humble towards me. All people are born equal. How can wealth determine one's worth? At any time, your self-respect is more precious than a coat. Please don't say things like, I can compensate with anything anymore. Oh, Gu Qian responded in a daze. By the time she realized what had happened, Shen Leitang had already walked away and stepped in front of me. Good CEO, this righteous energy is too overwhelming. I really don't know how to act out the plot from the original text with him. Recalling the original text, domineering imprisonment, forced kisses, forcing unemployment, being a caged canary, and even amnesia, car accidents, suspected terminal illness. It makes my teeth ache just thinking about it. He can't do these, can he? But the next moment, Shen Leitang spoke, his words astonishing. Gu Zhenjin, come to Hawaii with me. Could it be that his true nature is still domineering? After that car accident, he fell in love with me at first sight, harbored lustful intentions, and planned to imprison me on a small island at sea. But isn't that a bit too fast? In the original text, Shen Leitang had been brewing for a long time with flowers and a famous ring before proposing the travel plan. To save my life and complete the mission, I need Yan Wang's protection. To give money to Yan Wang, I need to get the leave my son check issued by Shen Leitang's mother. To get the check, I have to follow the plot and be with Shen Leitang. To be with Shen Leitang, I have to accept his invitation. All these steps build upon each other, leading to an unquestionable answer. But why do I seem to hesitate a little? On the eve of departure, I packed my luggage. For some reason, I recalled the events of this month, the month when Yan Wang became my bodyguard, and I gradually became friends with Shen Leitang. Although I frequently went to find Shen Leitang, I still inevitably ran into Yan Wang. He always stayed quietly in my bedroom, from beginning to end. He never mentioned the 1 million yuan reward again, very quiet, like a low-key and gentle shadow. There were only two exceptions. Once, when Gu Qian sent someone to poison my food again. Another time, when my fiancé spread malicious rumors about me to completely cut ties. They were blindfolded with sacks and beaten up together. I have to admit, this approach feels much more satisfying than using the system to solve it. So, with gratitude in my heart, I sent Yan Wang a bunch of food. While enjoying the dishes, I downed a glass of red wine, mustered my courage, and sincerely explained to him, Yan Wang, actually, when we first met, I said you were old. I didn't mean it. Also, the second time we met, I didn't shout mine at you, and I didn't say I wanted to bite you either. I widened my eyes, doing my utmost to express my innocence and seriousness. You might not believe it, but at that time, I thought I was Qin Shi Huang. But strangely, the more Yan Wang listened, the colder his eyes became. After hearing it, he silently drank a cup of bitter wine. Oh, he said, this is not a shift from, the person across from me is eyeing me. They're a pervert, to, oh, wait, she's a decent, happy person. He's not right. I sniffed the wine, not drunk yet. Yan Wang seemed to notice his own tone was somewhat listless. He added dryly, that's good, since you have no interest in me, I don't need to keep thinking about it anymore. After all, we're not from the same world, he added in a lowered, indistinct voice. After all, I'm going back. He seems unaware that I am from his hometown. On an impulse, I inexplicably wanted to confess. The system ruthlessly covered my mouth. When the drunkenness wore off, I am already lying in bed. Yan Wang is sitting on the windowsill, facing me directly, as if he has been sitting there for a long time. He seems a bit dazed. I wonder what he is thinking about. With him, the system tasks haven't popped up for a long time. With Yan Wang, Gu Zhenjin will always have hope for survival. The plot is steadily moving forward. Early in the morning, I got into Shen Leitang's Cadillac and headed to the airport. It was then that I finally read the part of the story about Hawaii. This just happened to be the last intense and heartbreaking climax before Gu Zhenjin met Shen's mother. Gu Zhenjin had loved Hawaii since she was a child. When she was still the young lady of the Gu family, she had visited countless times. That's why it holds her fondest memories with her parents. But Shen Leitang hates Hawaii. He is a domineering CEO who loves wearing impeccably tailored high-end suits without a single wrinkle. He dislikes wearing colorful beach shorts and getting tanned. So, after Shen Leitang and Gu Zhenjin got together, she only went to Hawaii once. She rarely got the chance to attend a family gathering with Shen Leitang, so she went to Hawaii with Gu's parents. However, there, she witnessed with her own eyes Gu Qian and her fiancé getting intimate in bed, finally understanding why her fiancé had previously slandered her and why he had called off the engagement. She also finally understood the ambiguous glances and vague innuendos between the two of them. Gu Zhenjin finally erupted, pouring out her grievances, only to be scolded by her father and mother. It turned out that they had long known that Gu Qian secretly wanted to kill her, and they were well aware of every instance of Gu Qian's false accusations and schemes. They were simply too biased. Gu Zhenjin was left stranded in Hawaii, alone, unable to speak the language, and Gu Qian had taken her passport. She finally managed to call Shen Leitang for help. The first thing Shen Leitang said was a mocking remark. I told you long ago, why go to Hawaii? You brought this on yourself. But Shen Leitang still went to pick her up in person. This time, leaving work to pick someone up made Mrs. Shen see Gu Zhenjin as a thorn in her side. However, in reality, I watched Shen Leitang, wearing beach shorts, squatting on the sand to help a child build a sandcastle. How did he turn into a sand sculpting CEO? Shen Leitang waved at me with a smile. Gu Zhenjin, come and play. So, I crouched beside him and sculpted a mermaid with an 8-pack. Suddenly, my mermaid was crushed under someone's foot. Oops, sorry, you won't be mad at me, will you, sis? I looked up. Gu Qian was wearing a bikini, smiling provocatively. Ah, just as expected. It's the same as the original plot. When I came to Hawaii, the 3 members of the Gu family also arrived. Mr. Shen, I didn't expect to see you here. She stepped past me and leaned in close to Shen Leitang. Miss Gu. Shen Leitang said with a smile, you've crushed someone else's sand sculpture. Besides apologizing, shouldn't you help restore it? Gu Qian gritted her teeth, smiled, and nodded, then turned and crouched down, asking me, what were you building before? I'll make you another one. Be a bit more generous, sister, and don't sulk. I smiled. The riverside scene at Qingming Festival, a one-to-one restoration, not a single figure can be missing. Gu Qian speechless, Shen Leitang added seriously. She also built a postmodern sculpture, a suffering man with 8 pustules on his head, that was a stunning mermaid with 8-pack abs. Shen Leitang and I left. On the way back, I was somewhat preoccupied with my thoughts. Gu Qian definitely wouldn't let it go. I didn't know what her next move to harm me would be. As a transmigrator, I never had particularly intense feelings for the characters in the book, but this time, I couldn't help feeling a bit helpless. Gu Zhenjin. Whatever you want to play today, I'll make it happen for you, Shen Leitang suddenly said. I finally couldn't hold back and asked him, Mr. Shen, are you being a little too good to me? I'm not confident enough to believe that I could make the cold and ruthless Shen Leitang from the original story do a complete 180-degree turn in attitude. Shen Leitang looked at me, stroked his chin, and pondered his words. Gu Zhenjin, you've had a hard life. I just want to make it up to you, or rather, apologize to you properly on behalf of someone. I know you like Hawaii. I know you're afraid of being abandoned. I know you hate being unfree and yearn for family affection. I looked at him and suddenly had a strange intuition. Shen Leitang said subtly, do you like reading novels? I don't really like them, because there are always some novels where the protagonist, in the name of love, willingly lets the other party take everything, as if love is supreme. And freedom and human rights are not worth mentioning. I murmured in agreement. Gu Zhenjin lost everything, was imprisoned by Shen Leitang, and became a canary unable to survive independently. However, because his possessiveness stemmed from love, all of this was rationalized as domineering. It is precisely because of this seemingly perfect yet deeply tragic ending that I have never been able to immerse myself in this world. My task is to continue the story and help the original protagonist resolve the crisis, but as each crisis was resolved, it seemed to drive the weak rabbit even faster toward the vicious wolf, allowing Gu Zhenjin to be with Shen Leitang more smoothly. I have a terrible suspicion, if the original owner's consciousness remains after the task is completed, and the whole world continues to operate, what will happen? Gu Zhenjin, who has not experienced the betrayal of her family or life and death struggles, who has not endured multiple failed escapes and the resulting despair, that Gu Zhenjin, still passionate, innocent, and yearning for freedom, if one day she opens her eyes and finds herself as the wife of a violent and domineering man, what would happen to her? For this reason, I want to take the liberty of choosing a path for Gu Zhenjin. In the original story, she did not accept Mrs. Shen's check because she only had Shen Leitang left. No matter how flawed this man was, Shen Leitang had ultimately saved her. She changed her mind and decided to accept Shen Leitang. However, I have decided to accept the check. If I accept the check, I will follow Mrs. Shen's wishes, study abroad, and stay away from Shen Leitang. I will strive to improve myself and carve out my own path. I hope that when Gu Zhenjin returns, if there is any chance she might come back, at least she is a successful and independent woman, even if by then she still falls in love with Shen Leitang. This is her choice, rather than a desperate compromise and self-deception. I understand that if I don't follow the plot, the system is likely to forcibly correct it, for example, assigning more dangerous missions to force me to give up. That's why I asked Yan Wang to help me. I want to give it a try. I want to give Gu Zhenjin another possibility, but I never expected that Shen Leitang's thoughts would align with mine. Who on earth is he? Shen Leitang looked at me. He was gentle and kind, and unwavering. Gu Zhenjin, I want to give you another ending. Damn, the system suddenly clicked its tongue in frustration. Both it and I had guessed it. Shen Leitang was also a transmigrator. Seriously, is this world really that popular these days? The system complained. The system thought for a moment and grasped the key point. You said, if he's also a transmigrator, can you still get that 1 million? I smiled bitterly. Of course, I can't get it anymore. Then you'll just have to be chased to the ends of the earth by Yan Wang. Oh ho, chased to the ends of the earth, the system said in a strange tone. I didn't understand what it meant. Shen Leitang was also a transmigrator. Presumably, he won't harm Gu Zhenjin before he leaves this world. With an extra helping hand, I had a peaceful night. free of dreams. When I opened my eyes, I heard the piercing warning of the system task. The task has been hanging for a long time, with fiery red text. You are the victim, you are already dead, but you are not panicking at all, because, I stared at these lines of text. Damn, what's going on? Is Gu Qian stealing my tower? The system showed me the replay. Gu Qian stole my card. A single fire, burned clean, the system, and I floated in midair. Below, Shen Leitang frowned deeply as he made a phone call. Gu Qian was arrested. No matter how much Gu's parents pleaded, no one paid them any attention, because there was no longer anyone as soft-hearted as the fake daughter they had raised for 20 years. What should we do? At this point, the mission is basically a dead end. The system whispered, it sighed, and said, give up. Life and death are generally the strongest laws of causality. Nothing is powerful enough to bring the dead back to life. I ignored it, pursed my lips, and kept thinking about the answer to this question. The system said it was because I slept too soundly and didn't hear the task notification, which caused the difficulty to change from the ordinary level of resolving the crisis to the hellish level of bringing the dead back to life. However, I didn't quite believe it, because it's just too coincidental. Shen Leitang just said he would give me another ending. My original self, Gu Zhenjin, died in a fire. Gu Zhenjin is the most central protagonist of this book. The protagonist dies, the resurrection mission fails, I leave the world, and the entire world will restart. Reincarnation, going through the plot again, welcoming a new wave of book travelers. In all of this, I always feel like someone is deliberately causing trouble, but I still can't give up. I grit my teeth, keep trying. I'm already dead. But I'm not panicking at all, because I can bring the dead back to life. Error, Gu Zhenjin does not possess this ability, because this is fake. Error, a reasonable causal relationship cannot be established. I have tried countless times, tried until my fingers trembled. The system remained silent for a long time, but now it finally spoke. Have you ever thought that this is a very obvious answer? It wants the reason why you remain calm, not for you to bring Gu Zhenjin back to life. I closed my eyes. The system said calmly, give up. There's only one answer. I looked at the screen. The system had already entered it for me, leaving only the confirmation key to press. I'm already dead, but I'm not panicking at all, because I'm just a transmigrator. This statement completely severs the connection between me and this world. I will not be trapped in this world in the form of a soul. I will leave this world as a transmigrator, so that's how it is. They want me to leave. My finger hovers over the screen. Go ahead and click it, the system reassured. They're just characters in a book. Before I confirm, I want to ask you one thing. Will Gu Qian be punished? Yes, then I've already confirmed. She will be punished. This is something that will happen in the future. In other words, after I leave this world, it will indeed continue to operate. I tightly close my eyes. Think, I can think of a way. Scarlet text, the light hitting my eyelids. I suddenly thought of Yan Wang. The first time he wore black, he brought death. The second time, it was still death. After that, however, came the hope of life. Shen Leitang's mission was quite clear, probably something about being a good CEO or the like. But Yan Wang's mission is hard to guess. Yan Wang, I seemed to see his cold eyes and the warmth hidden within them. Gu Zhenjin, I thought it was an illusion, but when I opened my eyes, it was really Yan Wang. He frowned, looking somewhat stunned at my transparent soul. Am I too late? He can see me. The final piece of the puzzle has been collected, forming a ridiculous and bold conjecture of mine. No, you've come just in time. I have one last task and need your help. I have discovered another answer to this question. I delete the system's answer. Typing, I'm not panicking at all, because my friend is the king of hell. Yan Wang. Yan Wang's pupils contracted. He seemed to sense something, then calmed down and said into the void, it's within the rules. I didn't tell her. She found out on her own. This means I can show my abilities in front of her. Yan Wang looked at me and spread his hands. I held his hand. Law of causality. My friend is the king of hell, so naturally he can govern life and death. Every problem has a solution. It turns out, my answer had been buried in the first task all along. He calmly explained to the system, I have a valid reason to save her. A faint smile appeared on his cool, composed face. She still owes me $1 million. She needs to stay alive, work hard, and repay my debt. The karma between us is not yet settled. I'm alive. I owe a ton of debt. working hard. Later on, Shen Leitang accidentally saw my study abroad plan, planning to send Jinjin to study. When I was reborn, he knew I was also a transmigrator. However, there is an unspoken rule among transmigrators that one must not violate the regulations. Yes, Shen Leitang hesitated for a moment and explained to me, at first, I wanted to give Jinjin a sum of money so she could live comfortably for the rest of her life. But then I thought that when wealth exceeds one's personal ability, the extra money will eventually be exhausted in various ways. So, I hope you don't take it the wrong way. I shook my head, not at all. I've already earned her a sum of money. It may not be enough for a comfortable life, but it's enough for her to finish her studies with peace of mind. This topic is exhausted. He hummed a tune, strolled out, and as he passed by the child, he casually bent down to help pick up the dropped paintbrush. Meanwhile, I stepped into the back kitchen to work. Only Yan Wang was there, silently washing the dishes for me. Are you ready to leave? Yes, I'm ready to go. Gu Qian was imprisoned. The Gu family and I are now completely unrelated. I successfully enrolled in school. After arranging all the matters, I left a letter for Gu Jinjin. It contained detailed career plans and job recommendations, wishing her rapid growth. And I, after procrastinating for so long, have finally chosen to leave this world today. The countdown to exit the world is now in progress. My system sighed, finally leaving. You have no idea how much effort I've secretly put in to extend your time in this world and hide it from my superiors after completing the mission. Thank you. It was quiet, then he said in a deep voice, I'm not trying to claim credit from you. I just want to tell you, I'm not that bad. I'm just an ordinary office worker. Although there are many things beyond my control, I still hold on to a small, quiet kindness. As the countdown was nearly over, he finally answered my last confusion. For example, that small, harmless task I arranged for you. I hope you can be happy too, transmigrator. People were murmuring among themselves. I looked toward the door. Yan Wang looked at me and broke into a smile. It was like a shimmering green hue breaking through the ice, a breathtaking beauty. I removed the brain-computer interface, stepped out of the bionic pod, and walked toward him with a smile. You are the slow-witted transmigrator. You owe the assassin $1 million. He suddenly stands up and walks over to you, but you are not panicked at all, because he likes you. This answer is so simple. Who would have thought the clueless transmigrator didn't even consider it? The system thought helplessly in its mind. However, that transmigrator has already left, so even if it wanted to complain, there's no chance anymore. Even a mechanical corporate drone has moments when they want to slack off. Like right now, the system pretended to compile a report, but secretly took a peek at that melodramatic and tragic world. He also forgot to tell the transmigrator one thing. After waking up, Gu Jinjin remembered everything. She remembered all the efforts of the transmigrator. The system watched as Gu Jinjin woke up and turned to look at the unfamiliar dormitory. On the desk were textbooks for the major she loved most. At the door, cheerful and lively classmates were calling her name, inviting her to join the party. She finally looked out the window. The square window had been opened. Revealed were the emerald green lawn and the azure sky, and, endless, completely belonging to her, freedom. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. When my wealthy biological parents sent someone to find me, I was kneeling before my adoptive father, pleading desperately, sell me after I get my diploma, I'll be worth more then. Please, just let me go to school. The person who came looked at the environment I grew up in with great disdain, covering her nose. She made 3 rules with me. If I wanted to go back, I had to promise not to bully the fake heiress. But all I cared about was, can I go to school? Can I have enough to eat, warm clothes, and a house that doesn't leak? Can I avoid working? Will your family members hit people at will? The visitor was taken aback for a moment and said, yes, we won't, okay. Then I promise. I stood up, dusted off my hands, and got into his luxurious, prestigious sedan wearing my dusty, dirty clothes. I won't bring any luggage, I'll just have mom and dad buy me new things. It turned out the person who came was my own brother, Chen Yu. He stood under the car for nearly a minute before finally opening the door and getting in. Seeing me sitting behind the passenger seat, his frown deepened even more. This seat has always been Xiao Qing's. Forget it, Uncle Wang. After we get back, take this car to be washed, inside and out, until it's spotless. As he spoke, He looked with disgust at the dust I had brought onto the leather seat after sitting down, sitting far on the other side, leaning against the car door as much as possible. "Don't sit here anymore in the future," he said. I took off my cloth shoes, whose soles were almost worn out, on the footmat, bringing out a pile of mud and sand. Then I crossed my legs. Chen Yu almost fainted from anger at the sight. I looked up and scanned the interior of the luxury car, carefully examining every detail, as if I hadn't heard what he said. "Bro, is this a Maybach?" Chen Yu widened his eyes, seemingly stunned by my casual familiarity and ability to talk to myself, and stammered for a long time. You, who allowed you to call me brother, and what Maybach? This is a Bentley Mulsanne. How can you not even know that? Wait, how do you know about Maybach? I chuckled sheepishly, scratching my head in embarrassment. Last year, I saved up 200 and bought a second-hand Redmi phone in town. Now, whenever I have a break, I squat outside the village chief's house to use the Wi-Fi. I've watched a ton of short dramas. The stories in there are all about wealthy families like ours. By the way, is our family in City A or Haicheng? Chen Yu's facial features were practically twisted with awkwardness, his expression looking as if he had just eaten something disgusting. He stammered for a while before turning his head away, closing his eyes, and pretending to fall asleep. Clearly, he didn't want to talk to me anymore. Seeing that he ignored me, I started chatting with Uncle Wang, calling him uncle with every sentence. I managed to find out how many people were in my family, where we lived, how many rooms we had, what my parents did for a living, and even how many children Uncle Wang had, their ages, and how much he earned. I kept talking, saying that in our small village, I had never seen someone as respectable as Uncle Wang, which made him grin from ear to ear. However, when Uncle Wang saw Chen Yu's increasingly pale face in the rear-view mirror, he tactfully humbled himself and said, "Not at all. Chairman Chen and his wife are the truly respectable ones. I'm just a lowly driver." I smiled slightly and didn't say anything more. What lousy parents. They didn't even come to pick up their own daughter in person, and they raised their son to be such a brat. What kind of decent people are they? Back at home, I looked at the huge yard and the enormous villa, standing at the door for a long time without speaking. I really wanted to cry, wondering what kind of sin I had committed in my past life to endure 16 years of hardship. I wonder why the Shaoqing that Chen Yu mentioned is so fortunate, allowing me to suffer in her place, enduring my father's domestic violence, my mother's departure, and the day-to-day drudgery. But I know that self-pity is meaningless. Barefoot, I stand in a faded piece of cloth that drapes over my gaunt frame, looking at the doorway. Even the cost of the decorations would be enough to buy me several outfits. I took a deep breath. Ambition is gradually stirring, the life of the wealthy. Here I come. If you don't give it to me, I'll steal, rob, smash, and swindle it from your home. After all, I am the biological daughter with blood ties, so everything rightfully has a share from me. In the living room stood a couple dressed exquisitely, with every strand of their hair meticulously groomed. The noblewoman held in her arms a fair-skinned, delicate young girl, who was on the verge of tears. It wasn't until I walked up to them that my biological mother looked at me with eyes tinged with sorrow. Their expressions were even more confused than mine, likely due to the shock of having raised the wrong daughter. The father wanted to approach but hesitated, wanting to speak but holding back, and in the end could only come up with an awkward and somewhat absurd greeting. "I heard the Wu family named you Xiaodi all these years. Have you been doing well?" I couldn't help but laugh, unsure how to respond. "Can't you tell?" I look at the girl in my mother's arms. "This must be Shaoqing, right? My brother has already made a 3-part agreement with me. You won't leave. You're still mom and dad's good daughter. Brother also told me not to bully you." Chen Yu rushed to Chen Yuqing's side and was the first to declare, "I'm not her brother. I'll always be your brother alone." Chen Yuqing bit her lip and spoke softly. I didn't mean it that way, Sister Xiaodi. If you don't like me, I'll just leave. But I never thought I might not be mom and dad's daughter. Mom and dad, the kindness of raising me is greater than heaven. In my heart, only you are my parents." My parents looked at her with heartache, as if I were the villain tearing them apart. Mother Chen said softly, "Shaoqing, you don't have to leave." I interrupted directly. "I have no objection to who mom and dad want to raise. It's just that I'm as skinny as a monkey, so I can't bully you anyway." After hesitating for a moment, I let my eyes well up with tears too. I've been beaten and scolded since I was a child, having to farm, cook, and go to school all at once. I just don't want to live that kind of life for Xiaoqing anymore. Then, with a thud, she knelt on the ground, tears streaming down her face. Everyone present was taken aback. Mom, Dad. Please let me be your daughter again, don't drive me away anymore, woo-woo. Perhaps it was because I was begging so humbly with a face that looked too much like theirs. Perhaps it was because the words, Mom and Dad, came too quickly, making them instantly step into their roles. I knelt on the ground, looking exactly like a younger, more emaciated version of my mother, no matter how tightly Chen Yuqing clung to my mother's clothes. It was useless. Mom suddenly came to her senses. Rushed over and hugged me tightly, while Dad stood beside me, patting my back to soothe my sobbing. That child Xiaoya was talking nonsense. There's no such thing as a three-part agreement. Good child, you've suffered. It's all because we didn't protect you well. From now on, you'll be our precious treasure, and we'll make up for all the love you've missed. Although Dad looked sorrowful, he still couldn't help but emphasize it again. To raise a child is to nurture life. And in that nurturing, there is affection. We've raised Xiaoqing for over 10 years. We can't just abandon her like this. But don't worry, Xiao, Mom and Dad will never show favoritism toward anyone, and we will treat you even better. I looked over my mother's shoulder at Chen Yuqing's slightly trembling shoulders and the mix of resentment, fear, and bitterness in her eyes. I just smiled again. I looked up at my father with a simple, honest expression on my face. I believe in you, Dad. I just want to study. Go to school, wear warm clothes, and eat good food. With these, I am content. This made them hold me and cry bitterly once again. After pretending to cry, my voice grew calm. Mom and Dad, from now on, call me Baojin. When registering my household, use my new name, Chen Baojin. This name was given to me by the volunteer teacher at the school, and I really like it. First, I must cherish today, then step by step, walk into the future. The parents repeatedly agreed. Chen Yuqing's face was grave and pale, and I looked at Chen Yu, as if it were already in the bag. The Chen family's house is quite large, with 5 or 6 bedrooms. However, aside from the master bedroom, only the 2 rooms occupied by Chen Yu and Chen Yuqing have good lighting and spacious interiors. The other good rooms were used for functional purposes, such as a study, a sunroom, or a game room. When Chen Yuqing stood in front of her own room, looking at her parents with a pitiful expression, pretending to shed crocodile tears and saying she would give the room to me, I had already walked up to the top floor, to my father's study, which came with an attic and a balcony. Here, there was a wine cabinet, a sofa, a rocking chair, and a massage chair. He would sunbathe and taste wine here, and the attic served as his private cinema, equipped with professional-grade facilities for his leisure use. Turning to him and saying, Dad, this room seems about the same size as my brother and sisters. It also gets great natural light. Can I have it? My dad's breath hitched. Joke, who would want to compete with Chen Yuqing for that small piece of land? If you want to keep this adopted daughter, your resources will have to be redistributed. Seeing him remain silent, I quietly lowered my head and shed tears. Back in the countryside, the house I lived in was made of mud bricks. It leaked during the summer rains and let in snow during the winter, to keep warm. The windows were sealed so tightly that not even a ray of light could get through, and after my adoptive mother was driven away by my adoptive father, he would always beat me. I never knew what it felt like to be cherished by parents. Mom, Dad, you said you would be extra good to me. Is that true? I'm really afraid that everything is just a dream. Mom's heart ached at the words, and she quickly expressed her stance. Let me make do in the guest room for now, and this afternoon, the renovation team will come in to turn this into my bedroom, with all the designs based on my preferences. Dad also gritted his teeth and agreed. I couldn't help but think, if it weren't for the need to fight for the family inheritance, I really should have studied acting. Chen Yuqing's nails were almost digging into her palms. And Chen Yu was also too shocked to speak. He stepped forward to stop them. Dad, before, when I said I wanted to go play in the attic, you wouldn't let me. Now you're just giving the room to her like that. The father waved his hand impatiently. Otherwise, why don't you give her your room and move to the guest room? Your sister has a point. The other rooms look too cramped and wouldn't be fair. The mother nodded in agreement. Seeing this, Chen Yuqing took Chen Yu's hand and spoke in a sweet, affected tone. Sister Baojin has had a hard time out there, so it's only natural she'd want nice things when she sees them. Even if Baojin is being unreasonable and insists on taking what Dad treasures, I believe Dad won't hold it against her. Dad has his own considerations. We all care about Dad, and he must know that. Brother, don't be angry anymore." Upon hearing this, Father patted Chen Yuqing on the shoulder and praised her for being sensible. His gaze toward me held a mix of sympathy and a hint of displeasure. I sneered inwardly, no longer caring to explain what was already a done deal. This had nothing to do with Chen Yu, and I hadn't taken anything from his precious sister, yet for some reason, he felt a knot in his heart. In the end, he took Chen Yuqing and left, not speaking to me again for a long time. The next day, Chen Yuqing came to my room with a pile of clothes, their tags still attached, Sister Bao Jin. "These were bought for me by my mother before, and I can't even wear them all. I heard you didn't bring anything when you came, so please take these clothes to change into. Don't be polite with me." She wore a sweet smile on her face, dressed in a limited edition Chanel suit, her wavy hair exuding a faint fragrance. "Last night was the first time I used shower gel to bathe, and I only had a set of pajamas that my mother temporarily gave me. Yes, nothing in this house was prepared for me." Chen Yuqing also, considerately, explained, "Mom was busy helping me rehearse for the piano recital these past few days, so she didn't have time to buy your things. Anyway, we're about the same age, so you should be able to use all my things. I have plenty left over. It's all because Mom and Dad love me so much. Don't worry, the Chen family can afford to support a country girl, but the only daughter they truly accept is me. I advise you not to delude yourself into thinking you can win the love of our parents and brother. Once you're an adult, you should marry a city person as soon as possible. That would be a class leap for a country girl like you. As for the marriage alliance with the Gu family, that's my thing. Someone as rustic and unsophisticated as you doesn't deserve it." I was shocked by the expression on her face as she spoke. Such strong conviction. Is this the golden canary of a wealthy family? Nowadays, even young girls in the village know it's better to work in another city than to get married. She actually treats arranged marriage as a prized treasure. "Isn't your own family's money more appealing than your husband's?" I got straight to the point and clarified, "Don't worry, I would never steal your fiancé." But I didn't expect her to step on my slipper-clad foot with a pile of heavy hangers in hand. In pain, I pushed her away, and she stumbled backward, landing hard on her bottom. Perhaps not expecting me to push so hard, she burst into genuine tears. This drew the attention of my parents and Chen Yu. "What are you doing?" Chen Yu came up and tried to slap me, but I nimbly bent down and dodged it. He almost couldn't stop his momentum and nearly threw himself to the ground. Chen Yuqing's eyes were red, and she cried, "I was just kindly bringing you clothes. If you can't accept me, I'll just leave." Woo-woo. My parents comforted her with heartache and glared at me angrily. "Chen Zhaodi, you are indeed our biological daughter, but Yuqing is also a treasure we've raised in the palm of our hands. If you bully her, you're not taking us seriously." Seeing this, Chen Yu felt even more emboldened to pull at me, but I pushed him away with the strength I'd gained from carrying firewood, sending him flying far off. I'll admit to being called an insulting name on purpose, but when they call me Zhaodi, they don't even forget to change my surname back. Now that really makes me laugh. They clearly wish Chen Yuqing were their daughter, yet they still make sure to mark their own with a brand. What kind of dog-peeing behavior is this? Realizing how much they truly value blood ties, I just lay on the ground, wailing loudly. I didn't bully her. I didn't bully her at all. Crying and rolling around, she said I'm a country bumpkin, but I'm not. I'm your daughter. I have your blood running through my veins, paddling with both hands and feet. Mom, if you don't want to buy me clothes, I can just wear Xiaoqing's old clothes. I'm as skinny as a monkey anyway. I can survive with just a piece of cloth. Please don't abandon me. Everyone knows how to play the guilt-tripping card. I have nothing to lose, but they care about their reputation. I'm taking a gamble too, now that the paternity test is done. If they really don't want me, I'll sue them for abandonment. When it comes to being reckless, no one can outdo me. Growing up in the village, I've begged for more meals than I can count. I didn't bet wrong. My parents fell silent, while Chen Yu and Chen Yuqing stared in shock. My parents helped me up, looking utterly embarrassed. In the end, my father could only manage to say, "Don't learn such shrewish behavior. From now on, you're the eldest daughter of the Chen family. And every word and action of yours represents the Chen family's reputation." Mom silently took out a card and told me to use the money inside to buy whatever I needed. I didn't stand on ceremony and accepted it. Just as Chen Yuqing was about to leave with those clothes, I stopped her. "Thank you, Sister Yuqing. I'll make do with these things. You don't need. If you have any cosmetics, skincare products, bags, electronic devices, shoes, hats, trendy toys, or anything else you don't use. Feel free to pass them on to me. My parents praised me for the frugality I developed in the mountain village, saying it was commendable. It seems they finally saw a bit of merit in me. Chen Yuqing gritted her teeth and swallowed her anger. To maintain her image, she actually brought me a pile of things. I immediately listed them online, cashed them out, and saved the money. Everything I needed was bought using the credit card my mom gave me. This way, I had both the items and the money. A week later, I moved into the room my dad reluctantly gave up for me. Standing on the balcony, I bathed in the sunlight and looked down at the garden and fountain. Finally, I felt the reality of my new life. This is a summer vacation I never imagined, one that turned my life upside down. When school starts, I will transfer to the international school where Chen Yuqing is, to complete the remaining 2 years of high school. Before, just surviving was already difficult, and I couldn't squeeze out time to study. Maybe I have a bit of cleverness, and my grades were passable in the rural school, but compared to these elite-filled places, I'm definitely doomed. I didn't even start learning English until middle school. I knew my parents wouldn't understand these things. Their mindset was that of the most cunning merchants, only concerned with profit and results. I still had the confidence to get through their scolding by relying on my thick skin, but for my own sake, I still needed to catch up with the progress as soon as possible. The teacher who gave me my name, Ms. Lee, was a student from the best normal university in the capital city who had come to the countryside to teach. I contacted her and, with a tearful voice, told her about the incredible stroke of luck I had encountered. She was speechless for a long moment after hearing it, then became extremely excited. She was genuinely happy for me. I begged her to tutor me in the language and courses that would be used in the international high school. She immediately agreed, and after hearing about my situation, she even said she wouldn't charge me, telling me to keep the cash for emergencies. I thought about it and suggested that I could use my mom's card to top up her meal card, buy daily necessities, and even get some Labubu figures for investment. She also thought this was a good idea, figuring that every little bit of their money we could get was worth it. Since I had a good relationship with Uncle Wang, I commandeered the mulsan he was in charge of. I rode this car back and forth on my way to tutoring classes and even went out to have fun with Teacher Lee several times. For the first time, I was in the mood to see the mountains, forests, and streams as scenery, rather than as footnotes to a lonely and impoverished life. We also became very good friends. Uncle Wang tactfully did not mention this matter to Chen Yu and Chen Yuqing. Whenever they asked, he would cover for me with a laugh. I also gave his daughter many small gifts. As for the parents, they were mostly busy with work and wouldn't care about such trivial matters. As long as I didn't embarrass them again, they thought I was just inexperienced and went out shopping and having fun, seeing me become more and more like a decent person day by day. They were actually quite pleased. During this period, Chen Yuqing has been trying to find ways to make trouble for me. From time to time, she would come to provoke and anger me. When she realized I wasn't falling for it, she directly started spreading malicious rumors. She knows our parents' preferences well, and I couldn't fend off all her underhanded tricks one by one. Our parents have become increasingly biased, and the way they look at me has grown more disappointed and annoyed. I could only smile wryly to myself. Fortunately, I had never held any expectations of them. What I've never wanted is love. Until the day before school started, Chen Yuqing actually rolled down the stairs with me in her arms. Her knees were covered in blood, but I was tough and came out completely unscathed. My mother held her, her heart aching so much that tears fell straight down. My father even rushed over like a madman and gave me 2 slaps. Chen Baojin. Our indulgence toward you is not your confidence to bully Yuqing. Have you forgotten what you said when you first entered the house? Chen Yu also kicked me twice. Do you still think this is your countryside? You rude wild girl, like a stray dog. Apologized to Xiao Qing. I was trembling with anger. Even a clay figure has its temper. What do they take me for? In the face of absolute favoritism, my crude methods of breaking the deadlock were utterly useless. School is about to start, and I dare not roll around on the ground like a country girl anymore. Otherwise, if they think I might embarrass them, they might just send me off to some remote public school to fend for myself. That would only push me further away from establishing a firm footing in this family. Chen Yuqing is pulling out all the stops again. She sobbed while holding her mother, saying, I know my sister has never liked me. She thinks I've taken over her nest and stolen the love that belongs to her. I'll leave. Then, Mom and Dad, please send me away. I'm willing to give this home back to my sister. Upon hearing this, the father flew into a rage. Yuqing, don't talk nonsense. If anyone should leave, it's this inexplicable wild girl who suddenly appeared. My heart sank into despair. In my biological father's eyes, I was just a wild girl who inexplicably appeared out of nowhere. I never expected anything. But hearing those 3 words still made me clench my teeth, trying to hold back the tears. Yet the tears still fell like a broken string. It should have been mine. It's time for me to enjoy all this love and care, just because of the misfortune at birth. Does that mean I don't deserve any family affection? No one can give me an answer. Chen Yu's eyes were filled with malice. You're really putting on a pitiful act now. Where was your sense of shame when you were beating your sister? Apologize. As if still not satisfied, she came up and gave me 2 more hard slaps. My parents did not intervene or express any opinion. I was struck so hard that I stumbled back several steps. My heart aches so much I can't breathe. I wish everything would just end. But even if I die, I'm taking someone down with me. I swiftly rushed in front of Chen Yuqing, kicked her so hard she fell to one knee, and then pressed the back of her head down. Bang, bang, bang. I just kept hammering into the ground. Chen Yuqing was covered in blood from head to face. When she looked up, her parents and Chen Yu were completely stunned. I had already darted to the doorway. As I passed by Chen Yu, I even kicked him in the crotch. He was in so much pain that he bent over, unable to chase after me. If it were my turn to bully her, this would be her fate. Believe it or not, I didn't give them a chance to react. Now is the time to hurry up and run. I ran to the school vicinity and completed the boarding procedures ahead of time. Fortunately, the enrollment procedures were completed a few days ago, and the tuition for a year has already been paid. Take whatever you can get from this home. In a hurry, I didn't have time to pack any luggage, had to make do with a night on the bare mattress. Before drifting into sleep, I dryly comforted myself. At least now, it's much better than before. Chen Yuqing and I are in the same class. But she took a few days off and didn't come to school. During the freshman check-in, I introduced myself with a loud, enthusiastic voice. My skin tanned and glowing. My name is Chen Baojin, the long-lost elder sister of Chen Yuqing. Now I'm back. But I'm generous and kind-hearted. I couldn't bear to let her go back to her abusive father, so I had my parents adopt her. Sincerity is the ultimate weapon. Here, no one takes anyone too seriously, but everyone loves gossip. As soon as class ended, several girls gathered around me, asking for my contact information and to take photos with me, post it in the group chat, share it on social media, and everyone will talk about it with great interest. With my rustic appearance, I stand out like a sore thumb among the high and mighty young ladies and gentlemen at school. But what if I were as thick-skinned as a city wall and fully embraced this persona, accustomed to raising pedigreed dogs? The young ladies and gentlemen sometimes also watch short videos of feeding rural mutts. I am simple and honest, yet there is a hint of naive foolishness about me. I graciously accept the kindness of everyone. I turn a blind eye to the hidden malice behind my back. When Chen Yuqing returned, she found that I was actually quite popular. This was not the script she had envisioned, where a country girl would struggle to fit into high society. Instead, the one being whispered about became her. Meanwhile, Chen Yu sent me numerous messages filled with malicious curses. My parents also each sent me a barrage of lengthy messages. First, they expressed how disappointed they were in me, then said it was useless for me to run away, and if I didn't apologize to Yuqing, they would freeze my card. I remained silent and tried to top up my meal card. Sure enough, it had been frozen. I immediately snatched Chen Yuqing's limited edition lipstick and listed her bag on the second-hand market. She cried and wanted to call the police, afraid of being found out by their parents and feeling ashamed. They comforted her by saying that reporting it to the police would just be a family dispute, and since you're still minors, the police would just mediate and it would be over. I bought her a new one and also got my card unblocked. Maybe I've pushed the limits too far, and they were completely speechless. They simply pretended to be ostriches and didn't even mention the incident of beating Chen Yuqing before, just as I expected. As long as it doesn't touch their core interests, these cat and dog fights are just something they brush off with a gesture. This is also why they kept Chen Yuqing. Chen Yuqing is a kitten they've raised for over a decade, with deep affection, while I am a stray dog left outside, taught all sorts of bad habits. True or false, at their core, they are all just cats and dogs. If one day it's discovered that Chen Yu is also a fake, let's see if they still treat the real young master this way. There's only one thing that Chen Yuqing can't compare to me, and that is, I have their blood flowing in my veins. In case Chen Yu fails, I can still be used as a backup. After the start of the school year, Chen Yu returned to the United States to continue his studies. Chen Yuqing looked at me with such hatred that she almost wanted to devour me in one bite, but unfortunately, she also felt afraid. The faint scar on her temple hadn't fully healed yet. Unable to get help from her family, she called in another reinforcement, her trump card to defeat me in her heart. Chen Yuqing's fiancé, Gu Changfeng, is a senior in high school this year. After class, he stormed into my classroom, grabbing my collar. He threw me against the wall, pressing hard against me. Did you hurt Xiaoqing? How dare a stray dog from the countryside lay a hand on Xiaoqing? A country bumpkin who climbs the branch is still a country bumpkin. That's your fate, set in stone for over a decade. I suggest you get back to your village as soon as possible. My fiancé is Xiaoqing and only Xiaoqing. I genuinely mourned for Chen Yuqing. Are you not afraid of being a victim of domestic violence if you marry such a violent person in the future? My foster father used to hit others before marriage, and only started hitting my foster mother after they got married, I said softly. The paternity test shows that I am indeed a descendant of the Chen family. This is fate too. No matter how much you and your wife can't accept it, you have to endure it. The mention of your wife made his ears turn bright red, quite innocent, but that didn't stop him from flipping me over onto the ground once he snapped out of it. I even added fuel to the fire. Since you like imposters so much, why don't you also get a paternity test with your parents? What if you're the lucky one too? He slapped me across the face. My nosebleed splattered all over his school uniform. I immediately called the police. He hit Chen Yuqing as a family dispute, but hitting me is not. Gu Changfeng is unfortunately already over 18 years old, so he can be detained and will have an administrative penalty record. I demanded a large sum of money, making it clear to his parents that if they didn't pay, there would be no settlement. Even if I don't get a single cent, he must be detained for 15 days. What's with all this, young master, and young lady, talk? In New China, there are no nobles. Anyone who hits someone has to go to the detention center. To keep Gu Changfeng from suffering, getting a criminal record, his parents obediently transferred the money. I happily signed the settlement agreement. In less than half a year after returning home, I had already saved an amount I never dared to imagine before. Rich people really do have it easy when it comes to making money. My dad thought I was being too harsh, so he went over to smooth things over with them. I got beaten up, and he even invited the Gu family to dinner to mend the relationship. After being taken home to rest for a few days, Chen Yuqing tearfully complained, and my mom gave me another lecture. I sneered coldly, went back to my room, locked the door, and started doing my homework, no matter how they lectured outside the door. I paid no attention. When it was mealtime, I swiped my credit card to order 2 large bags of takeout, then went to Teacherly to continue my tutoring. By the time I returned to school, Chen Yuqing's methods had become much cruder, hiding needles in pillows, placing razor blades in towels, locking me in the bathroom and pouring water over my head. She even planned to hire a few off-campus thugs to take compromising photos of me, using that to threaten me into leaving this home. I couldn't help but applaud her. She has truly grasped the essence of my spirit. She's quite bold and daring, but I used the compensation money from the Gu Changfeng family to bribe the dorm supervisor and the school security guards. The uncles and aunts helped me identify all the potential dangers, and they often brought me homemade braised pork to eat. It really felt like they were raising me all over again. Chen Yuqing was waiting for me to fight back so she could play the victim in front of our parents. She was certain that our parents would only believe her. If she could see through me, then I would have truly wasted my time living in the mountains. I gathered all the evidence and sent it to my parents, saying Chen Yuqing bullied me, doesn't want me to have a good time, wants me to get out of this house. My dad replied, "You're talking nonsense again. How could Yuqing do such a thing? She's a good girl who grew up right under our eyes." My mom said, "Have you been wronged at school lately? Is someone bullying you?" Sigh, "I told your dad a long time ago that you might not be able to adapt to this school." I sent over my midterm exam report card. My grades were above average, far exceeding their expectations. Although it still doesn't compare to Chen Yuqing, it's already better than Chen Yu's performance at this age. My mother retracted the second half of her sentence and changed her tone, saying, "Regardless, this is not a reason for you to frame Yuqing. If you have any grievances, take them out on mom and dad." I raised an eyebrow. I transferred schools again. My parents even bought me an apartment near the school gate, because I said, "Since you think I'm so good at framing people, then I'll start making vlogs and become a self-media influencer." framing you every day for favoring your adopted daughter while letting your biological daughter get pricked by needles and fed razor blades. Unless, give me a peaceful environment and a comfortable life. I just want to study hard and don't want to compete with your precious daughter. To avoid appearing too cold and harsh, I even took the initiative to say that I'm willing to be their outside daughter, coming to my apartment twice a month to have meals with me. Just so I can feel a bit of parental affection. Well, I also need to maintain some client relationships to make it easier to keep asking for money. For the remaining time, they could enjoy family happiness with Chen Yuqing as before. They thought about it and found it feasible, which also suited their desire for peace and quiet. Additionally, since using my first-time homebuyer eligibility offered more favorable terms, they simply put the house under my name. Upon hearing this, Chen Yuqing also clamored for a house, but our parents coaxed her by saying they would prepare a generous dowry for her when she married Gu Changfeng. Chen Yuqing was instantly appeased, spending every day sweetly and closely with her parents. Occasionally, when she saw me, her face was filled with smugness. Looking at their happy state, the last trace of darkness in my heart vanished. I don't need a lot of love, I just need a lot of money. Watching Chen Yuqing's foolishness, unable to see the truth, I couldn't help but sigh that this version was still too simple. No foster father who beat me or was an alcoholic, no need to farm the land myself to save up for tuition and miscellaneous fees, nor was I nearly sold by my foster father to a hair salon just before starting high school. It was only after I knelt on the ground, begging and pleading, lying to him that if he wanted to sell me, he should wait until after I finished my studies, as a college graduate would be worth more, and I would give him all the money then. He only snorted coldly before agreeing to let me continue my studies. Compared to these, my biological parents merely spoke harsh words and simply didn't love me. Having left that physically harmful environment, these verbal and emotional wounds could no longer shake me, and so, my home with Chen Yuqing was completely cut off. Chen Yu also felt that this was a manifestation of my being exiled, and he couldn't be bothered to come and cause trouble for me. For the next 2 years, I lived alone, free and comfortable, with Teacher Li's company from time to time. I was not lonely. I went to school and came home as usual, homework, exams, sports, under Teacher Li's guidance. My grades have been getting better and better, my skin has become fairer, and my figure is no longer that of a skinny little monkey. I've become full of energy and feel much stronger. The four of them often go on trips together, but they never invite me. But what's amazing is that the room in the Chen family villa, which was redecorated for me, has been kept all along. I was puzzled, but it was Teacher Li who told me with a smile, once you make someone invest enough sunk costs for you, no matter what, you have already occupied a certain place in their hearts. Chen Yuqing relied on this. And this can also be used by you, after graduating from high school. I applied to a school in the United States. The school's ranking wasn't particularly high. There was no other way. I had fallen too far behind to make a sudden leap to the top, but for my parents' expectations, it was considered acceptable and wouldn't bring them shame. They even happily took me out for a big meal, accompanied me shopping, and bought a bunch of brand name items. It felt like a real family for the first time. As for Chen Yuqing, because her grades were better, her parents said they couldn't bear to let her go too far, so they had her apply to one of the top schools in Hong Kong. When she saw me, she had a look of disdain and smugness. Calling her a country bumpkin is just that, a country bumpkin. She can't compare to her in any way. She is still more beautiful than me, and still more talented than I am. What a pity. The look in my eyes when I see her is nothing but pity. After all that effort, it was only to package myself as an exquisite gift. In this family, education is merely a gilded facade. The real competition lies in who can secure more resources from our parents. I received an annual living allowance of 1 million, while she got to stay close to home. The Gu family was also quite satisfied. Having discussed with my parents that we would marry after she graduated, I was basically at ease. Chen Yuqing is no longer a threat. As for whether her parents will give her a dowry of several million, I don't care. It's just consumption. Whether it's spent on yachts and planes or on her, it's all the same. Her parents are merely seeking emotional value. My gaze is not here. By this time, Chen Yu had already graduated. His parents had always been strict with him, so although he had some habits of a playboy, he didn't feel there were any major flaws. It was just that he spent a lot of money, changed girlfriends frequently, and enjoyed speeding and making a racket on the streets. The only thing that gave his parents a headache was that after studying business for a few years, he suddenly said it wasn't his dream. He wanted to switch to a music conservatory for his master's degree, and if he couldn't get in, he'd have to start over with a bachelor's. With that, he stayed abroad and refused to come back. His parents had hoped he'd return early to take over the family business. But upon hearing about his sudden illness and realizing his sky-high annual expenses would continue for another 5, 6, 7, or 8 years, they felt their vision darken again and again. Daily video calls bombard me, and we've argued a whole basketful of fights. I thoughtfully sent messages to comfort my parents. My brother is young, full of ambition, and wants to do what he loves. It's rare for someone to have a passion, so just let him have his way. When he realizes he's not up to it, he'll obediently come back home. I'll come back to spend time with you both once I'm on vacation. You don't realize it until you go abroad, but once you leave home, you really wish you had your parents by your side, being the treasure in their hands. If it weren't for pursuing my studies, I really wouldn't want to come to this rundown place. Yes, I'll try to persuade him more. After a period of managing things, they finally seemed to feel that it was good to have me back. I often sigh with emotion, thinking how considerate a daughter connected by blood can be. Who could blame Chen Yu for being so troublesome? And Chen Yuqing is also foolishly obsessed with her fiancé, forgetting her parents once she has a husband. In my spare time, I wander through the art galleries of Xinjiang, finally able to receive some ordinary parental greetings. Of course, whenever we chat, I always mention being hungry, thirsty, or broke. Let them think more and send more money. The more resources I have, the more confidence I have to compete, because I'm not afraid of losing. As I went home more often, my dad would also take me along when he had social engagements. I am not Chen Yu, and I don't mind the sour, musty smell that lingers in the air during drinking sessions. As glasses are raised and exchanged, it's still better than moldy walls, scattered bottles of bulk liquor lying haphazardly on the floor, and fists that could come flying at me at any moment. I adapted quickly, and when holding a glass to discuss cooperation, the smile on my face was even more greasy than my father's, and when it came to the end of a project, when payments were hard to collect, I could sink lower than the most shameless thugs. After I once touched the project boss's mountain villa and refused to get up in front of his mistress's BMW, my dad's smile at me turned into the kind he used to give Chen Yu. It was doting, as if looking at a willful child. Then he personally taught me what more dignified methods there were. Unlike me, Chen Yu cares about art. He only wants genuine appreciation from others. He doesn't care about these vulgar, external things. As for my actions and measures, he finds them disgusting and despicable, not worthy of his status as a noble young master. Until one day, my father's longtime close friend unintentionally mentioned me to him, saying that I resembled him more than Chen Yu. That night, my father held my hand and shed tears. Jean, you've suffered. Well, how should I put it, to be honest? Dad is actually quite glad you had that experience. Look at you. A child who has suffered hardship is so much more sensible than that brat. The sweet smile on my face remained unchanged, but my heart felt as cold as an ice cellar in the dead of winter. The dark-skinned and sallow Wu Zhaodi had vanished. Now, Chen Baojin's makeup was flawless, always dressed in elegant silk formal wear, with even the curl of each eyelash meticulously measured. Yet those painful memories had never faded for a single moment. Now, in the eyes of my biological father, all of this has become my honor. Dad, you're right. Only by enduring hardship can one truly understand the difficulties of entrepreneurship and hold on to such a vast family business. I held his hand tightly, tears welling up in my eyes, unwilling to let go. Within the next few weeks, I obtained 10% of the company's equity. Upon learning of this, Chen Yu threw a tantrum at home. But unfortunately, the shareholders' meeting had already concluded, and the matter was settled. I smiled and comforted him. You're not skilled in business matters. I'll handle these. You just focus on what you enjoy. After all, you're part of the family, and I'll make sure you're well taken care of no matter what. The same goes for Yuqing. Brother, I promised you I wouldn't bully Yuqing. Have I kept my word? After graduating from school, I returned to the company. Following closely in my father's footsteps and steadily learning the practical aspects of the business, Chen Yu pursued music for several years but didn't achieve much success. His music software never gained more than 1,000 followers. He always made excuses, blaming either the equipment or the lack of personnel. I always advised my father to give him money when he asked for it. Over time, he had become, in my father's eyes, a hopeless case. no matter how much was invested, there was no return. When the economic downturn hit unexpectedly, to avoid having all the funds tied up if the cash flow broke, my father gradually transferred some assets into my name. The debts, however, were shouldered by my parents themselves. By the time Chen Yu realized what was happening, there wasn't much left to be allocated to him. Chen Yu was still much better off than Chen Yuqing. At least he wouldn't be like a daughter married off and water splashed out. Once the business situation improved, he would still be able to get a share of the benefits. After Chen Yuqing received her dowry, there really wasn't much left. It had been a long time since I last heard any news about her after I blocked all her contact information. All I know is that she was solely focused on controlling Gu Changfeng, accepting all of Gu family's unreasonable demands without question. It is said that you can only get the marriage certificate after having a child, and after marriage, you must stay at home to take care of the husband and children, and cannot go out to work. While she performed well in the Gu family, she also kept running back home, putting on a show of being filial to her parents. Because the marriage certificate hasn't been issued yet, my father hasn't transferred any money to her. Chen Yu had been frustrated and depressed for years. He often went out to race cars to vent his frustrations. As a result, one time he was caught off guard and got into a car accident. Not only did he wreck his own car, but he also caused serious injuries to his friends who were riding with him. The parents said the company was short on cash flow and couldn't provide him with compensation for the time being. He was told to cover the expenses with his own money first, but he had spent all his money on making music. The real young master, who doted on the fake heiress the most, had a sudden idea and asked Chen Yuqing to lend him her dowry money first. Chen Yuqing would rather die than open her wallet, refusing no matter what. This completely broke Chen Yu. In front of Chen Yuqing's in-laws, he insulted her, calling her the bastard child of a drunkard from the mountains, saying that after just a few years in the Chen family, she thought she was a real heiress. He complained that he had treated her so well, yet at a critical moment, she wasn't even willing to help him. Gu Changfeng's parents originally didn't know the inside story of the Chen family. They only thought I was the long-lost daughter and had no idea that Chen Yuqing wasn't actually a blood relative of the Chen family. This has blown up big time. The Gu family insists on calling off the engagement, saying they'll disown Gu Changfeng if he doesn't. Gu Changfeng and Chen Yuqing held hands, tears in their eyes, for a long time, but in the end, he abandoned the already pregnant Chen Yuqing. In the end, the parents couldn't bear to see their own son suffer, so they redirected the money originally intended for Chen Yuqing to Chen Yu. They told Chen Yuqing that since the marriage was off anyway, they would make up her share of the money once the business picked up. But fate has other plans. The project my father invested in blew up, wiping billions off the company's market value. I had already taken most of the assets and split from the parent company long ago, starting my own projects and establishing my own business. It's a complete reversal of fortunes. The Chen family now depends on me for their livelihood. Chen Yu stays at home, idly living off the trust fund our father set up for him over a decade ago, and Chen Yuqing now found that she didn't even have a fund. It turns out that regardless of whether they are biological or not, from the moment they are born, their gender has already determined the path their parents have arranged for them. At least, she still has a prestigious university degree that no one can take away from her. Watching her pack her bags and leave home, going to interview and work at one company after another, return to the original class, I sat by the floor-to-ceiling window on the rooftop of my own 5-star office building, overlooking the city, and transferred the last sum of money to her. Consider it a gift from the winner to her. Karma comes full circle, with a beginning and an end. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.